I know some of you will be thinking, hang on, you did this video last weekend. Incorrect. That was Frankie's edition. Huge difference. But some of you will be thinking, hang on, you did this a couple of months ago with Gonzo. Correct, but it was a couple of months ago. Things change. I had Tomas Soucek in undecided. I had Carlos Soler in undecided. I can't leave them there. Decisions need to be made. So this is my final edition. Buy or sell every single West Ham United player. Plus, I'm going to Scotland for a couple of days this week and I need a video to go up. Anyway, let's turn to the tier list. I'm going to get straight into it and then we'll do a couple of disclaimers because there's always people that don't understand. So I'll do my best to explain. I know Wan-Bissaka and Jared Bowen straight up into the old keep category. Wes Foderingham can go up there as well. Still got a year to go in his contract. Homegrown, third choice goalkeeper. I'm happy. Lucas Fabianski. Disclaimer number one, for those players whose contracts are expiring, this is what I would do, not what I think Graham Potter will do. That's a completely different conversation. So Potter's decided no new contract for Lucas Fabianski. However, I would have given him one. So I'm putting him in keep category. This is my tier list. Fabianski's in keep. And the reason for Fabianski being in my keep category, first of all, I think he had a better season than Alphonse Areola. Statistically, he had a much better season than Alphonse Areola. And I would put Areola in sell. So this explains both decisions, really. I want a substantial number one signing this summer. One's already moved in Kelleher. I think other good goalkeepers are available this summer, and it will involve spending money on that position. So I think replacing Fabianski with a 15-20 million pound goalkeeper feels unlikely and unrealistic. But if you sold Areola, and although his transfer fee wouldn't perhaps be that large, I think it would be less than 10 million, his wages are reportedly 125 grand a week. So if you could get that off the books and get in a goalkeeper on less wages over the course of the next 2 years or something, you might make most of that transfer fee back. So that's why I'd have Areola in sell. Get the money, upgrade that position, and keep Fabianski for another season. I think he had a good season for us this year round. In terms of the two loan signings, I can buy them if I want to, but I don't want to. So Ferguson and Soler, they're going in the sell category, and I know there will be one idiot that says, well, you can't sell them, they're on loan. I'm not having 100 categories. 99% of you will understand. Right, James Ward-Prowse, he's going in sell. He is our player. We can sell him. I do want to sell him. I think it's important we have a rebuild in the middle of the pitch. I have concerns that no one will buy James Ward-Prowse, so we're going to be stuck with James Ward-Prowse because of the transfer fee we are likely to receive for him if we were to sell him. PSR, it is not good. So cash flow, good for the club. PSR, it's actually hindering us. Selling James Ward-Prowse would actually hinder West Ham in terms of how much they can spend this summer, which is crazy, but that's what you get for overpaying for him in the first place. When he first came back, I thought he looked all right under Graham Potter. I think he would look all right next season under Graham Potter. But I don't want to see it. I don't want all right. I want better than all right. Plus, he's only going to get harder to sell next summer. It's only going to be more difficult. He's going to be a year older, possibly another season of, at best, averageness. So, Ward-Prowse, I'd have him out of here. Nair Fagard, I've made my feelings clear on him for quite some time. Don't like the way he treated West Ham when he was here, but he retains a good transfer market value. PSR-wise, he is a clever player to sell. It is profit. Agard, off you go, and frees up some much required funds. Michael Antonio, I'm going to put him in sell. I might do a video about it because there's a lot of talk about him over the last few days, isn't there? But I wouldn't give him a new contract. And then we've got Maxwell Cornet, put him in sell as well. I remember being buzzing when we signed him. My word, that's one of those transfers I got excited about and turned out to be terrible. But what a disaster. The thing is, again, like James Ward-Prowse, it's actually bad for PSR to sell him this summer. We're better off loaning him out because of the PSR side of things. But I'm not going to add a loan category. That's for later on in the summer. We'll get to it. Right, Soufal, I wouldn't have given him a new deal. I was happy to see him go. Incredible servant. Thank you for everything. If you end up at another Premier League club, which I think you will, when you return to London Stadium, you will get a huge reception, and so you should. A big part of our modern history and success over recent years. Love him to bits, but when I seen he was starting, I got worried. I thought, oh no, who's the left winger in the other team, because they're going to take advantage of him. Had some good performances at the end of the season. I think he signed off on a high, which is important. I think sometimes, come the end of your spell at a club, especially if you're getting on a bit, you can maybe put in a few bad performances and remind people why you're leaving. Actually, I think what Soufal did was put in a few good performances to show why he still got it at this level. He'll get another Premier League club. Aaron Creswell, I would have kept him. I would have given him a new deal. I think he showed this season he can still do it in the Premier League. I think if we are going to persist with this back three quite often next season, I think he's the best player to play that left-sided centre-back role. And I think he's going to be difficult to replace. So you can go get a centre-back, but in terms of having what he's got, in terms of dribbling out from the back, in terms of playing out from the back, you're putting a bit of pressure on yourself to find a specific type of defender there. Someone that, wage-wise, he's not on enormous wages, is vice-captain quite often. So I think he would have been a good player to keep around. And you could argue we don't need to replace Creswell because we've got Emerson and Scarl still. But I don't see Creswell as a left-back under Potter. I see him as that left-sided centre-back in a back three. We need to replace him. And it's going to be difficult, actually. I wouldn't have wanted him to be a key player or playing every single week next week. I don't know. 10 starts and 10 appearances off the bench or something is what I would have expected had we retained him. But I'd prefer to have him here. Still our best crosser of the ball and set-piece taker. Right, Emerson I'm going to put in depends. I'm trying to stay away from putting players in this category. I want to be decisive. But the reality is, with Emerson, I think he's had an all-right season, Under Potter, I don't think he was good under Lopetegui. Under Potter, I actually thought he was fine. But I think Scarl's also showed that there's a lot of potential there, but he's not quite ready, which is okay. So if Emerson goes, we need to replace him with a good left-back. And the fee we'd get for Emerson is probably not very much. I don't know, 7 million? I don't know what we would get, 5, 6, 7 million for Emerson? I don't know what we'd get, something like that. It didn't give you much money to go replace him with, does it? I think we might find ourselves in a little bit of a struggle to do so. I'd have been all right with him to stay here next season if we didn't bring in a new left back and we started next season with Emerson and Scarls as the options. I'd be okay with that because there's so much to do this summer. My priorities, left backs quite far down the list. I don't know, 5th or 6th maybe in terms of positions and stuff like that. I would have been okay with that getting dealt with next summer, and we focused our money and energy on other areas of the squad this summer. I would prioritise a new goalkeeper over a new left back, put it that way. Guilherme Cape, I want to see more. I thought he looked quite bright in occasions we did see him. Would have liked to see more of him under Potter at the end of the season. Don't know why we didn't. But I'm not ready to give up on him. Plus, this is where I think the club have to be a little bit switched on. And if they rate Guilherme, and when I say the club, I mean the board, the coaches that are aligned to West Ham United and not Graham Potter. So say someone like Martin Noble, for example, I appreciate he's not a coach, but if he rates Guilherme a lot, say, this is where the club have to protect themselves a little bit and say, well, we're not going to sell him, but Potter ain't using him. We'll maybe loan him out. Because there is a strong possibility, right now, I think there's a strong possibility, I don't know, 60%, which I think is strong, that Potter isn't here in 12 months' time. In literally a year's time, whether he gets sacked during the season or he goes at the end of next season, I think at this point, it's more likely he won't be here than he will be. That's how I feel. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope he goes on to have a good season. But because of that, I think you've got to take precautions, and that is how much do you back him in the transfer window. And I think you've got to back him big time with incomings, but in terms of outgoings, selling a Gerd is one thing, but I think this young promising player that we've got high hopes for potentially, I don't think you should allow Potter to decide whether he gets sold or not. I think you've almost got to keep him so that the next manager can maybe utilise him. So I would keep Guilherme. Danny Ings, yeah, I wouldn't have given him a new deal. Andy Irving, I'd keep him. I know it sounds a bit silly, but he's such low-cost wages. Never let himself down when he stepped onto the pitch for West Ham. Made his Scotland debut, and we beat Liechtenstein 4-0. Che Adams got a hat-trick. It was just pointless. It was a really boring game. But anyway, Irving came off the bench, fouled someone, put a cross well behind Migos, a terrible cross. But then he played in this absolute delicious ball for Adams to get his hat-trick before he got his third goal. He's on 2 at this point. It was just perfect. It was like almost like a Jared Bowen-esque pass, just from the right side of the pitch, curled it in. And it's one of them, you touch it, it goes in, and he didn't quite get his toe on it. But I'd keep Irving. Again, I wouldn't expect him to have a key role next season, but he's one of those players that could be handy to have around, and financially it's not a big burden on the club. Max Kilman, I'll put him in depends. Not sold. Won't be sold, him. But this is why I have an issue with overpaying for players. I said it with James Ward-Prowse, and because he had a good start to his season under Moyes, I remember the comments, do you still think we paid for James Ward-Prowse? And I said, yes. I think he's doing well at the minute, but yes, I do. Because he's going to stop doing well, and we're going to be stuck with him, and we're not going to be able to sell him, and PSR-wise, it's a bad decision. And I feel like I've been proven correct. And it was the same with Max Kilman a year ago, 40 million. I said, we're overpaying for this player. And now we're in this position that if we were to have a conversation around selling him, we can't, because PSR-wise, and I know this is boring, but the reality is this is the position the club are in. PSR exists. You don't have to like it, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It does. We can't sell him. We're stuck with him. So I'm putting him in depends because I'd like to sell him, but we can't. I guess for that reason, I should probably put him in keep. Yeah, let me move him up to keep because we're stuck. Not being impressed. Much better in a back 3 than a back 2 centre-backs. But I want to play the 4 at the back. I don't want to play 3 at the back. I want to see more of the 4 at the back. And I think he gets exposed when we play like that. So it's a concern. So keep him, but only because we kind of have to. Next up, we've got Mohammed Kudus. I'm going to put him in depends. It's here. He's in between keep and depends. The only reason I'm putting in depends is because of transfer fee. Listen, if we got 70, 80 billion for him, I'd sell him because we ain't going to see the best of Kudus at West Ham. We haven't seen the best of Kudus at West Ham, and I don't think we will. And Potter has shown nothing to suggest that he will get the best out of Mohammed Kudus. So for that reason, I think it'd be better to cash in. However, the reason I'm putting him in depends is because I wouldn't sell him for 50 million. He's a good player. And I still believe he's got the potential to be world class. I haven't been as excited for the signing as I have been since Mohammed Kudus. And I can't tell the last one pre-Kudus. Maybe Sebastian Haller, possibly. I'm not sure. Absolutely loved him at Ajax. Thought it was a real coup to get him. I remember when we signed him because I was away at that time, and I remember I almost didn't believe it. It was too good to be true. Wow, we're not going to get Kudus. Then I remember when I was away, he played in that European qualifiers for Ajax. And after the game, he basically said, yeah, I'm off. And I went, wow, this is it. He's actually coming. I was buzzing when we signed him. And I still think he's got the potential to be a world-class player. And the reason I wouldn't sell him for so cheap is because it's going to annoy me watching him go somewhere else. And if that club unlocks his talent and gets everything out of him, because they will have an incredible player on their hands. And we'll look at that as a football club thinking, wow, we messed that one up, didn't we? This summer, we cannot attract players like Mohammed Kudus to West Ham United. We can't afford them, and we can't get them in terms of ability and potential. A player that's, one of the hottest prospects, because he was at the time, in European football, who may go on to become world class. We can't get them to West Ham anymore. So I think we need to do our best to keep the ones we've got, and there's not that many of them. So Kudus, I'm inclined to keep him. I understand why we might have to cash in on him, but I don't like it. Do you know what? I'm going to put him in keep. I've made my mind up. I'm keeping him. Unless it's big money. Mavropanos, I'm keeping him. Do you know what? I think he's done well under Potter. I think he's done well. I think sometimes I used to joke. Many people used to joke about how he's clumsy, he'd make a big mistake a game. But sometimes those big mistakes came in like the 89th minute. He'd be faultless for 88 minutes and bang. I think he's eliminated them from his game. I think in the last 2-3 months of the season, I think our best centre-back was Adam Creswell, and I think our second best centre-back was Mavropanos. That's my honest thoughts. I would keep him for the transfer fee you'd receive, 10 million-ish, 12 million-ish. I'm happy to retain him. So Mavropanos, well done. You've had a good end to the season, and I think you deserve your place in the squad next season. I think he's shown that if he is dropped, it doesn't bother him too much, and he doesn't kick up a stink too much either. I think he's a good player to have around. Rodriguez, I'm going to leave him in sell, right? I'm not going to lie. The last couple of... Let me move this thing down a bit because I've ran out of players on the bottom now, haven't I? There we go. The last couple of games, I actually thought he looked all right. Right, under Potter. I thought he looked fine under Potter. Away to Man United, away to Ipswich. Was it Ipswich? Did he start that game? I can't remember. Anyway, he played a couple of games. He got an assist. No, he came off the bench and got an assist for Kudus. So there was almost like I was watching him thinking, could he stay next season? Could he have a role at West Ham next season? Snap out of it, man. He's still too slow for the Premier League. I don't think his lack of pace is exposed under Potter as it was under Lopetegui. I will say that. But I'll put him in the sell category. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't have a little, debate in my own head. Somerville, keep, simple as that. Todibo, I'm putting him in the keep category. But he's sort of like, I've got the crosshairs on him, right? Needs to do better. Was not impressed. However, now the tier list is wrong again because I've got a second layer. There we go. There you go. There you go. That'll do. Leave it there, Gio. Right, Todibo, I'll leave him in keep. Didn't have a pre-season a year ago. When he was at Nice, we bought him without a pre-season, so he was sort of straight into the action. I don't think that helps. Apparently, he's playing with an injury in the second half of the season. That would explain a lot, if true. It does feel like a bit of an excuse because it came out after his poor performances rather than before his poor performances. If it came out, he's playing with an injury for the next few weeks and he was going off in the 70th minute, you say, all right, that's okay. We know he's not 100% fit. But it comes out afterwards, feels a bit convenient. I'm not quite giving up on him yet. I think he's not as good as I hoped he'd be when we signed him. Obviously, as a player, one of those players I've heard of but haven't really watched. But other people were buzzing with his signing. Made me quite hopeful, mug. And I've not been impressed. Some games he looks calm and silky almost as a centre-back. But other games, he looks like he can't defend. That defending away to Ipswich, if he does that again this season, I'll give him a bit of a pass because it was last game of the season, who cares and all that. But if he does that again next season, I want Jared Bowen to hook him in the middle of the pitch, as in punch him. I want him to be beaten up. I'm not condoning violence. There needs to be repercussions. You can't just sit down on the football pitch and let the player run past you. So I'm not impressed, but I've not given up yet. Kurt Zuma, no new contract for him, but thank you very much, skipper. Incredible centre-back at West Ham. Thank you. Right, the academy players. I may loan some of these players out, but that's a discussion for in this summer. So this is about whether we'd keep them as a West Ham United player, or we'd sell them and they're not a West Ham United player. So for that reason, this becomes easy. I'm putting not depends. I'm putting every single one up in keep. So we've got Potts, Orford, Scarles, Casey, Marshall. That's everyone, isn't it? Earthy. There you go. That's them all up into the keep category. Like I said, I may not have them all as part of the squad next season, but I wouldn't be looking to sell any of them during the summer. We'll discuss them later on in the summer. I think they need pre-season. I think you need to see them in pre-season before you decide. But that leaves the 4 players I've kept till the end because, I don't know, it's controversial. I don't know. Can you tell what I'm going to say for Soucek, Alvarez, Paqueta and Fulkrug? Can you guess where I'm going to put all 4 players? Probably. You might be able to guess 3 of them. Where shall we start? Fulkrug. I'm putting him in keep. I like him. I liked him when we signed him. I think he's done all right with us. I think his injury was bad. Unsure what Potter thinks of him. I get the feeling Potter's not his biggest fan. Whether it's because of... Well, I think it is because of his outburst after the Brighton game. Because when Potter came in his first game, he had Fulkrug up front, didn't he? So that would suggest that he was keen on Fulkrug to some extent. But I would keep him. I think if we can have 2.5 strikers next season, and the reason I say half is because that third guy I'd like to be like a younger player. Maybe not Callum Marshall. Because insight into the video in the summer, I think he needs a loan move to the Championship. But if we can have a punt... So you got Fulkrug, new signing, and punt. Someone like Mayenda, for example. And I'm not going to say Daniel Cummings. I know people will be saying Cummings, not him. I think I'm not as convinced he's for the first team. I've seen a lot of people say, third choice striker. I'm not sure about that. Maybe eventually, but not this season. So I keep Fulkrug around. I think he's a good player. I think, funnily enough, I actually think he fits the way that Potter likes to play. I think his hold-up play is really good. I think he's a threat in the box. I think he links up well with Jared Bowen. I like him. I'd keep him. Edson Alvarez, I'd sell him. Rebuilding midfield, please, Potter, Macaulay, and that involves getting rid of Edson Alvarez. A player I'm actually disappointed by in terms of didn't quite live up to what I was hoping at West Ham, and I think it's overshadowed by Kudus. I think Kudus is obviously the top billing when it comes to which player did West Ham not get the best out of or live up to your expectations. It's Kudus. I did set the bar very high though. But with Edson Alvarez, it's a similar conversation. I was, when he first came in, I was excited. I thought he looked good. But there's been some really terrible performances from him, hasn't there? Under Moyes, Lopetegui and Potter, there's been some terrible performances. There's been some good ones as well. But I don't feel like we've squeezed every bit of potential out of Alvarez. In some games, he's running around like a headless chicken. I'm watching him. I think there was one game, I can't recall who it was against now. He was the furthest forward midfield. He was playing as like the number 10. I thought, right, okay, this is just stupid. What's going on here? I'd sell him. Hopefully we can get a decent fee for him. Unlikely. We're not going to get what we paid for him, but we can get, north of 20 million anyway. But if you can get anything over 25 million, I think we've done very well in those negotiations. If you get 30 million, you're laughing, and they'll call David Sullivan a negotiating genius. But I'd cash in and look to... I'm huge on a rebuild in midfield, and that involves getting rid of Edson Alvarez and James Ward-Prowse, and hopefully funding most of the rebuild. Because of the types of players we're going after, I don't think he'd be far off. Lucas Paqueta, keep him. Obviously, this is hypothetical, and this is just pretending he was found not guilty. I still think he'll be found guilty. I just do. Everyone's got a gut feeling, right? We don't know everything that was said, but we've all got a gut feeling, right? My gut feeling is he'll be found guilty. However, for the sake of this, because I can't sit here and go, he's guilty, he's not going to go anywhere, is he? But on the assumption he's found not guilty, I want to see him next season. Weight off his shoulders, big role in Potter's team, new midfielders beside him and around him, plus a new attacker, because obviously Kudus is unlikely to be here. While I'd keep him, I'm now talking about what Potter's likely to do. I think you'll see a new attacker, maybe a new striker. I don't know, can we get a better version of Lucas Paqueta? I think yes. I think the answer is yes, you can do. And if you do, you've got a top player on your hands there. So I think I'd keep Paqueta for another year. He might not want to stay, but I'd like him to. And Tomas Soucek, I'm going to put in keep as well. Now, he's someone that I've you asked me a few months ago, I would have said sell him. The reason I'm putting him in the keep category is because I don't trust Graham Potter. I think Potter's shown that he would like to get away from relying on Tomas Soucek because he's dropped him for a few games. But he always goes back to him. And sometimes it's because you do that because the player you've dropped goes in and plays really well. And it's like, right, okay. I'm not sure that's completely the case here. I think there was an element of that, but I think it's a case of he's going back in because I can't get my team to score goals like Soucek on the pitch. I think under Potter, we got 2 goal scorers, Jared Bowen and Tomas Soucek. And if we were to sell Tomas Soucek, and to go back to that old Bowen PSR, he's actually the best player to sell for PSR because he's pure profit. He's been here, well, Bowen is, but you get my point. But in terms of realistic sales as somebody, he's the best one because it's pure profit because of how long he's been here. But if we go into next season, we don't have Tomas Soucek anymore. You really need Graham Potter to get goals out of other players. You really need Somerville to step up. You need the striker, and Fulkrug to step up and get goals. I'm not. I don't feel confident in that happening. So the reason I'm putting Soucek in keep is because he's almost. I'm going to call him Plan B, but we might bloody need it quite quickly next season. But at this point, there's a possibility we start next season with Soucek still as our second biggest goal threat on the first game of the season because he is a goal threat. He does carry that. And I don't think he's the best player in the world. I think he can be problematic in the sense that when he's in a team, it does impact how we can play. And he's a real Jekyll and Hyde type player. I think everyone loves him. I think most people love him as a person and for his commitment at West Ham. And I just assume every West Ham player loves him. That's why when people say he gets hate, I think I've genuinely not seen any. Actually, that's a lie. I've seen 1 or 2, but out of thousands of West Ham fans, I've seen 1 or 2. It's not even 1%. It's less than 1%. So I think most people love him. And you're allowed to love him and think we should sell him. That's okay. It doesn't mean you hate him. And for anyone else that says you hate him or you disrespect him, that's not true. Because, well, that person that's accusing you of that will probably also want to sell a player. And the player they probably want to sell, there's a chance they've won the Conference League with West Ham as well. So you want to sell Emerson? Oh, right, you want to sell the man of match in Prague. Disrespectful, you hate Emerson. That's not the case. You just think we need a new left back. That's all right. You're allowed to do that. So with Soucek, I understand anyone that keeps Soucek and keep. I understand anyone that puts Soucek in sell. I completely get it. I'm not half and half. I'm maybe 70 keep, 30 sell. I'd like to sell him. If I had faith in Graham Potter coming up with a formation, a style of play, I had faith in Kyle McCauley identifying the right players. I had faith in David Sullivan handling negotiations well and bringing in players. If I had faith in all those 3 things, I'd have Soucek and sell. But I don't have faith in Potter. I don't have faith in McCauley. And I don't have faith in David Sullivan. I need evidence. I need evidence from... I ain't going to get it from Sullivan, but I need evidence from Potter that says, hey, look, we're going to play good football. We're going to win lots of games. We're going to be fine. And I hope that's the case. I don't have faith in McCauley because he's been here for 5 minutes and we've not signed anyone yet. So it's difficult to think, oh, yeah, that's the guy. He's going to be really good. I don't know. And I certainly don't have David Sullivan. So that's why I'm keeping Tomas Soucek in keep category. Because he's almost like Potter's get out of jail card. And I think we may need it. And one of the subscribers made a really good point. And I can't recall his name. And I apologise. I wish I could. I should have written it down. And this sums it up perfectly. And this is where I am with Tomas Soucek. He said, I would keep Soucek until the January transfer window. And if we're in a position where he's not playing much, he's not playing well, West Ham are in a good position, then you can sell him in the January transfer window because clubs will be desperate for a goal-scoring midfielder and you'll be able to sell him at a premium. Or West Ham are not doing too well and we need a goal-scoring midfielder, so we keep him. I like that. So for me, Tomas Soucek is staying, but I will reevaluate in the January transfer window because we could be able to cash in on a desperate club that needs a goal-scoring midfielder, because that, I think, is what Tomas Soucek is. And that's why I wouldn't sell him. yet. Anyway, there you go. That's my final tier list. I've got quite a lot in keep, albeit a lot of them are the younger players, but I've also got quite a lot in sell. I've got Emerson in the pens by himself. I don't like this. No, I'm gonna keep him. I'll put him in keep. And then what we can do is delete that row. There you go. Sorted. That's better, isn't it? I'd keep Emerson for reasons I've explained. So I'd be selling, releasing, or not buying Areola, Ferguson, Solar, Ward-Prowse, Agerd, Antonio Cornet, Soufal, Ings, Rodriguez, Zuma, and Alvarez. I'm happy with that. I'm happy. I feel happy with my tier list. Anyway, get involved in the comments below. Let me know what you would do with every single West Ham player. Would you keep them, / give them a new contract, / buy them, or would you get them out the door in any form? Let me know in the comments below. But if you enjoyed this tier list, please do drop a like on by clicking thumbs up. Subscribe to Hammers Chat, and I'll catch up with you in a bit.